exponential cascade continuing throughout all CREO systems. Damage report unknown. Personnel-related collateral effects likely from most operational neural implants.
say it again and again. The CREO cares.
The Surge is an action RPG, we say hardcore action RPG, set in the near future, and it's really all about one-on-one combat and cutting off body parts, using them to craft something for yourself.
So you're playing in this game as Warren. He's a new employee at this company called CREO. It's like a big mega corporation. They're trying to solve a lot of the problems in the world.
CREO really has the task to repair environmental damage by shooting rockets with payloads in the atmosphere that are supposed to heal Earth's atmosphere.
And Warren has just gotten a job here. So he's showing up for work for his first day. Things are a little mysterious, a little strange, but it's okay. He really needs the work. He gets his industrial exoskeleton applied to him, but something goes really wrong.
happens is that Warren, after a blackout, wakes up and is in some kind of junkyard, and everything wants him dead, basically.
And so what you're trying to do is help Warren to survive, to figure out what has happened in this place, and ultimately to escape.
To create a believable and credible world, we concentrated us on 3 major themes, and it was the industrial, the corporate, and the futuristic theme. We combined that together to create very exciting and interesting places, which are always credible and helps us to deliver our story with a lot of questions about tomorrow, and to have very interesting places for the player to explore.
What I personally like very much about the combat is the variety that you have. So there's a lot of choice in terms of how you want to play the game. If you really want to play bulky and slow, you can do that. If you want to be very, very fast, then there's also stuff for you in there. You can do it in a defensive way. You can block, you can dodge, you can duck, you can jump. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
So when it came to the technical implementation of the combat system, we rely on physics-based hitboxes that are positioned specifically according to the input that the player gives. So it's possible for us to really find out which limb actually gets hit by the strike by the player, and it's also the case that the same rules apply for the enemies. It's very, very detailed and also interesting to play with for the player, and it's also interesting for us that the enemies follow the same rules.
It's really, really reactive. It's really snappy. You really feel that you can impose your will on the game world. But that's only half of the equation. You know, the other half is that the game world has to push back. It has to give you a lot of challenges for you to overcome. The enemies have to be difficult. You have to learn what they do in order to overcome them. But then that makes the victory feel so much better in the end.
It is all about horizontal and vertical strikes, and this plays very well into our combo system, our deep combo system, which is that even within the same weapon type, we have very many different movesets, combos. It has so many different layers to it.
Where you strike on the enemy really makes a big difference in your combat. Of course, that wouldn't work out so well unless you're actually able to target specific body parts, which luckily is a main feature in our game. So you see an enemy, some of his body is armored, some of it's not armored, and then you get to decide, am I going to attack him in a vulnerable area and go for the kill, or am I going to attack him in an armored, protected area, damage that armor, chop his limb off, loot it, and then go craft it for myself.
That doesn't feel like you're just some overpowered superhero slashing people away or something. We don't have that, and we don't want that. We want really this engagement, this fear in the fight, and the reward is something you take from your enemy in a maybe sometimes very brutal way.
We thought about how can we incorporate, for example, his exo rig in the best possible way. We wanted to make it look really heavy, but at the same time he needed to have this incredible speed, and he had this enormous power to him now. What we did was we attached, like, I think 20 something kilos to our stuntman and made him do even the fastest attacks with it to really show the weight we had there. When it came to the finishing moves, of course we wanted them to be as cool as possible, but on the other hand, we didn't want them to be that, let's say, fancy. We didn't want to have ballet-like or dancing moves in there, but we just wanted to show the brute force of our hero guy.
There is a sense of pretty dark humor in the game, so it doesn't really take itself too seriously. I mean, it's a violent game, but it's really about fantasy violence. You're basically fighting monsters, but you will also see that there were and there are a lot of people in this world, and some of them really had some issues with the new situation, and some of that you can resolve, and some things you just witness, but you need to pay attention. We really try to have different layers of story. Some of them are really important for you and some aren't, and some just lead you in the wrong direction. But again, it's about exploring, it's about you finding out what it is about. So you really take a look at things, you explore things, and bit by bit the story comes in if you like to experience it that way. So we think there's really a wealth of possibilities in the game depending on how you play it, and we ourselves play it in very different ways at Deck 13, and we really see what you can do with it, but we really don't have any idea what players will do with it. We'll really give it in their hands. So this will be a very, very interesting moment for us to see what other people will do and can do with our game, and we expect to see things that we never thought of, and we think this will be a very, very strong and very important moment for us.
welcome to our demo of the Surge. I'm Adam Hatani, head of game design at Deck 13, and with me is Torsten Lange, our head of engineering, who will be doing the driving for us today. Now, the Surge is a hardcore action RPG with a focus on tactical melee combat, scheduled for release in May of this year on PS4 and PS4 Pro, Xbox One, and PC. You may remember from a previous video that the Surge is set in a dystopian near-future version of Earth. The game takes place in the sprawling industrial complex of CREO, a company trying to reverse the globally catastrophic effects of runaway climate change after some sort of disaster has occurred in CREO's primary facilities. So at this point in the game, you know that the section of the CREO complex you've seen so far is just totally messed up. Most of the workers are dead. The ones who are left are crazed. They attack you on sight. So you're on a little bit of a rescue mission here. The company's leadership is trapped up in the executive levels. They're the ones in charge of all these systems. They might be able to give you some answers, maybe even reverse some of the problems here, but making our way there isn't necessarily going to be very easy. The area we're in now is an abandoned biochemical laboratory where CREO did a lot of the research to develop the compounds that they're now launching into the atmosphere. So combat in the Surge doesn't use light and heavy attacks, but rather horizontal and vertical attacks. And the reason for that is because we can target specific body parts of our enemies. You can see Torsten here, he's targeting an unarmored body part. That's going to make him do more damage. He's more likely to stagger his opponent. But you can see when he hit an armored part with that last attack, it actually didn't stagger very much and walked through the attack. When you build up enough combat energy, you can do what you just saw him do there. You can perform a finishing sequence which chops off the limb, letting you take their armor. You learn the schematics, which means you'll be able to go craft that very same armor for yourself back at an op station. You can also take their weapons, use them right away, but since they're not upgraded yet, they won't be necessarily as good, but you can still try them out right away and then decide whether you want to upgrade. Here we have some sort of security unit, hunter tracker guy trying to apprehend us. That's not cool. I'm not going to let him do that. So something we really wanted to do with this demo was show off some of the narrative elements of the game. In the Surge, you'll be able to find and interact with a number of NPCs, some of whom you'll be able to help, others will be able to help you. But in either case, you'll be able to speak with them to find out more about what's going on here at CREO.
Come on over. No need to be shy. I see you're a man of integrity and initiative, and I have a small request to make.
Let's see what she has to say.
All right. Now listen. I'm sure you're smart enough to realize this area is under lockdown, quarantine, or whatever goddamn excuse they're using to get at me. I need to get out. We have to break this lockdown, and by we, I mean you.
Care to tell me who you are?
My name is Dr. Chavez. Melissa. Maybe you've heard of me. And no, I'm not lost. I work here. I think that's enough small talk. Now how about getting me out of here?
Good plan. It'd be nice if there were more specifics.
I'll put this as simply as possible. Enter the largest of the greenhouses. Look for the main console. It's connected to all the systems in this sector. I'm sure you can figure out the rest.
Ask nicely and we have a deal.
If I hadn't asked you nicely, you'd have known.
Let me think about it.
Don't take too long. There's a bigger picture that you're not seeing.
Okay, so this Dr. Chavez, she needs us to end the lockdown in this area. But all the greenhouses are affected, so I guess we need to go back underground to find another way. We're going to try out another weapon. This is the weapon we cut off the first gentleman that we encountered upstairs, the ground level. Let's see how this guy performs. Okay, so again we're targeting an unarmored body part. The weapon arm one more time. So you can see this plays much more differently from the staff. It's hard, it has big combos, but it's quite a bit slower. It also has different finishing move sequences. All the different weapons have different finishing sequences. So you'll have to try them out, see which ones have the movesets you like the best, which ones are coolest to you personally, fit your style. Alright, we're going to try out the Klinga Power Grip as well. It's a mounted weapon.
Please notice, decontamination has been initiated. Hazard response squads have been deployed. For your own safety, avoid the following sectors: laboratories and the greenhouse facility.
Okay, so this time we damaged an armored body part. We got the weapon, and then we also got the wrecked gear for that particular piece of the body, the arm gear, Rhino arm gear. So we'll be able to craft that later. And we also picked up an implant. Implants are really important in the Surge. Your exo rig has a certain number of implant slots that you can equip them in. That'll increase the more core power you build up, the more times you level up. And then they all also consume a certain amount of core power while you're using them. So you'll have to decide whether you prefer more passive benefits, you know, more health, more stamina, or more active things like the heals you've seen Torsten using, you know, instant energy boosts, combat damage boosts, things like this. You just have to make those choices for yourself. Okay, so Torsten just popped out a drone of his own to fight back against one of these drones shooting at him. Now, we mentioned before that we would have a ranged combat system, and that's exactly what this is. So your drone, it can be equipped with a number of different ability modules, things that let it do different stuff. In this case, he's used a flamethrower to blast these drones out of the sky. And you really want to keep a lookout for these things. They're really interesting. They let you mix up your gameplay, sometimes reach enemies who are a little bit higher than you can strike, things like this. Okay, this elevator's out of order. I guess we need to find somewhere to power it. Looks like a security door. Okay, so we don't have access to go through secure areas yet. We have to get that later and then come back and see what's behind there. It's something that I mentioned in our last video, actually, about the Metroidvanian level design elements that we try to use as much as we can. There's a lot of areas that you'll come across that you won't be able to access the first time that you find them, but when you get the capabilities to access them later, we want you to be compelled to come back and you know, explore those areas. So later, when you have a security-equipped rig that can pass these authorization checks, then you can come back to this area and see what's behind that locked door. Similarly, with the chest you saw him try to use there, it has a core power level of 80 required to overcharge, which means that, you know, you're not enough to do it probably the first time you come through this level. But later, when you're higher level, you can come back and open that thing and maybe get something nice inside. So we've come through this like plant research laboratory. Looks a little secretive. And now we're in the main greenhouse area. So you remember Chavez mentioned we had to enter the largest greenhouse and then find a console. So we must be getting pretty close. Oh, hello friend. That must have been hiding back there. craft that scarab leg gear when we go back home. See Torsten cycling through some of these drone implants. Alright, so we just used the infrablaster drone to shoot at this zombie man, pulling him closer without having to go into his area. So the infrablaster is kind of an interesting module for the drone. It actually doesn't cost any energy to use in most cases, so you can always pull an enemy closer to you, but if you have energy, it'll use that energy to deal a good amount of damage. So you can always use it, but you get a bonus if it uses energy. Yeah, so this definitely looks like the main greenhouse area. Has some sort of like growing room set up. Bunch of plants under these lights. Some derelict workers who are not of sound mind anymore, who are defending this place against you. That's not very nice. Not a nice thing to do. And we got a higher weapon proficiency as well. Okay, so we found the main console.
Deactivated. Reinitiating
Looks
systems.
like we've deactivated the lockdown.
Access restrictions for this sector have been revoked. Please
Go back outside and we can swing around and see what else Chavez has to tell us. Oh, but we have some new friends out here. This must be the hazard response squad that was mentioned in that announcement while we were underground. But they appear to consider us contaminated and in need of cleansing by fire, I suppose. You got to be careful with these guys. The guys who shoot the gas canisters aren't all that dangerous by themselves. Their gas canisters will deal damage while you're in the radius, but with the fire guys, they're quite dangerous. So the gas there is flammable, and it'll explode if a flamethrower touches it. And so the way to deal with this, as you can see, is to split them apart a little bit. So Torsten is using the concussive module on his drone to knock these guys away from each other, give himself a little room to work. The explosions will hurt the enemies as well, but you can see they're kind of equipped to handle this sort of thing, so it would hurt you a lot more. These guys have a weakness, it looks like. Boom! So their fuel tanks are a vulnerable spot, and if you can get in there, take advantage of it, then you can make them pay. Okay. Threat dispatched. Well done. So, that's The Surge. It's a hardcore action RPG, like I said before.
CREO, you know who we are. Or at least you think you do. CREO is one of the world's largest manufacturers of consumer and industrial products, but we're so much more. CREO's not just a company, it's a way of life. Here you're not just seen as anybody, you're somebody. Somebody special. At CREO, we have your well-being at heart, and that includes body and mind. implementation of our rigs, we've made you stronger, faster, tougher. So welcome to your new life as part of the CREO family.
Please remember, safety at work is our highest priority and should be yours. Look out for your fellow workers. They look out for you. This is not a scheduled break time.
CREO is not just another company. With Project Resolve, we are building the path to the future. Follow us into a new era, a utopia for all mankind. With every launch, we're healing our planet, restoring its natural shield. Resolve is not only revitalizing the Earth, but its people too. Together, we're strong. Together, we can make a change. Unleash your potential with us.
Taney. I'm the head of game design at Deck 13 Interactive, and I would like to welcome you to our demo of The Surge. With me today is Sebastian Zoibelt. He'll be doing the driving today. But before we begin, I'd like to give you a quick summary of our game. The Surge is a hardcore action RPG with a focus on tactical melee combat. We're in a dystopian near-future version of Earth. You can see here from the surroundings things are a little broken up. In our game, global warming and ecological problems have advanced to crisis levels in the world. Likewise, the global economy is in shambles, so regular men and women are in a lot of trouble. It's really difficult for people to find work, so our hero, Warren, is lucky to have found a job at all, particularly at a company like CREO, which is dedicated to solving the world's ecological problems. So his first day on the job, he's getting his exo rig applied. You can see here attached to his body and some of our other materials. But something goes very wrong with this process. He loses consciousness and wakes up here. So let's get going. Okay, so this is an operations center. Functions a bit like a hub for us. You can do some crafting here. You can use your tech scrap to level up your exo rig. But we're not going to do that yet. We're going to head right into the action. This is one of our new co-workers. He's not in very good shape, as we can see. He's a little aggressive. I think we're going to need to defend ourselves. Now, melee combat in the Surge is stamina-based. That means that while you're in combat, you're going to need to manage your stamina resource, or you might find yourself unable to complete a combo that you want to finish, or unable to dodge away from a counterattack. It's just something you need to pay attention to while you fight. And in the Surge, attacks are not light or heavy attacks, but rather horizontal and vertical attacks. And that's because the swing direction of your attacks actually matters. In the Surge, you can see here, you can target specific body parts. So directing attacks towards unarmored or vulnerable areas deals increased damage. It's more likely to stagger your opponent. So it really pays to observe your enemies, pick out their weak points when you're going in for the kill there. Another thing that we really like to emphasize is that it's really good and beneficial for you to scan your environment, to look around for enemies and loot. Exploration is really important to us. So looking around, we see this guy in the dark banging his head. Now he's different from the other enemies we fought so far in that he has a helmet, which is something that maybe we want to take home with us, make it ours. So that brings me to the other aspect of body part targeting, which is that if you target a body part and deal enough damage, you will then be able to use combat energy, like this, to execute a finishing sequence. It's mean. So you chop off that body part and you loot it, and then we can take that back to the operations center where we can use our new blueprint to craft that helmet for our very own selves. That's not very nice. So moving further into the area here, you can see that we don't have just humanoid enemies, we also have a variety of robotic enemies. Many of these will also have limbs that can be chopped off. This could give you various rewards, new implants, new weapons, things like that. But these disassembly drones are more simple. They don't have different body parts, they're just trying to chop you up. But we're not going to let them do that. And what is this? You see something in the rocket shell over here. Okay, this is also a new blueprint. So when we return to operations, we'll be able to craft the security staff as well. Looks like we're not able to go through that door yet, but there is an overcharge station nearby. So overcharging allows you to channel the core power of your exo rig to overload some circuits. Sometimes that'll open doors, sometimes that will add power to places that had no power. And sometimes it will allow you to be jumped by a giant robot dog. You can see here the robot dog is a little bit of a mini boss for the purposes of this demo. It's much more aggressive than the other enemies we fought, deals a lot more damage, but you can see it also has a weakness. If we punch it right in its robot eye, when it's leaping at us, we can actually interrupt it and then score a follow-up attack of our own. Be careful. Alright. Now that we have him taken care of, we can explore the warehouse a little bit more. Oh, maybe he'll be friends. No, I guess not. I guess he doesn't want to be friends. Something that's really important to us is that all of our enemies have purpose in the world. You can see that these guys, they have a heavier rig, they have these forklift weapons. You know, they really fit in the area that they're found. They're kind of like these mover, loader employees, but the way they yell and attack you shows that there's something still a bit wrong with them. So up here is an exo-lift. Why don't we try that out? Or we will not. We will deal with our friend here, and then we will use the exo-lift. Our two friends. Alright, well done. 2 for 1. Okay, so an exo-lift, it's the way that Warren can reach different vertical areas, can go higher or lower. It functions very much like a ladder, but we think it's cooler. Now here's another overcharge station. The difference is that this one is higher level. Now, like I mentioned before, exploration is a major element of the game for us, and you'll have a lot of reasons to explore the world of the Surge. We see our levels as being pretty Metroidvanian in nature. They're really interconnected, and you'll find a lot of areas that you're not able to access until later in the game, until you have more power or different capabilities. So when you find something that you're not able to open yet, it's really a good reason to backtrack later to fully explore. A lot of times you'll find other encounters or rare loot. But now that we've turned on the power to the warehouse here, we're able to go through this door that we've just opened, which seems to open up a shortcut back to the operations. So that's a pretty good opportunity for us to craft some new gear with all these blueprints that we've gathered.
This is not a scheduled break time.
I think it is a scheduled break time, thank you. So up ahead here is a med bay. This is what allows you to use your tech scrap to power up your exo rig. It heals you, of course. And then here we have a crafting station, so let's use that. Okay, so we see the blueprints that we've acquired so far. We see the helmet, we see the staff. Let's go ahead and make these things. Let's make a staff, make the loader weapons. And this is really the core gear loop for the game. You know, you cut off pieces from your enemies, you learn the blueprints, and then you use those to craft new equipment for yourself. So let's go ahead and try on some of these things that we've crafted. Security staff, loader weapons, sweet new helmet that we got before, and we also have this armor piece. Now, this particular piece of chest armor will illuminate in the darkness. It casts these bright lights. It helps you to see, helps you to find enemies and find loot. You know, other armors will, you know, do things like protect you from environmental hazards. So it's really important for you to experiment with different pieces of equipment, see what sort of special effects they give, so that you know how to approach all the challenges of the world in the most effective way. So like I said, we can use tech scrap at the med bay to level up our core power. Looks like right now, yeah, we don't have enough to get a full level up yet, but that's okay, because now we've banked that tech scrap so we don't lose it when we die. And then we also have the implants, which I mentioned before. So implants can have passive benefits. They can also be active injectables like Sebastian has been using to recover his health when he's low. But all implants use different amounts of core power. So as you play the game, you really have to sort of balance the core power requirements and your total core power against the you know, your personal gameplay style and the sort of effects that you think are most important. Alright, so why don't we head out and try some of these new toys that we've made.
Be careful out there.
Okay, so this is the way we like to do cutscenes in the Surge. We don't like to take control of your camera, you know, we make the cutscenes all part of the world. What that means is that when you watch them or not, they're always just going to occur around you, whether you pay attention or not. It's really up to you. Sometimes we'll offer a context camera so you can have a more cinematic view, but it's never required. It's always your choice. And all of our different weapons, they have different move sets, different feels altogether, different finishing sequences. Pretty brutal. So as you get new weapons in the Surge, you'll really want to test them out, see which one feels the best to you, which one is most effective in your own hands. It's really your choice. See, the loader weapons are a bit faster, more agile, a little more combo-y, but also pretty brutal. Okay, so now that we're more comfortable with these new weapons, why don't we go back through the shortcut and see what's on the other side of things. This is pretty dangerous.
Reboot in progress.
Okay, yeah, so I was talking before about the context camera. This is what lets you have a more cinematic view as this angry boss robot gets up out of the rubble. You can watch it if you want. You can also prepare for the boss fight. That's totally fine. You can see he wanted to shoot you with the railgun. Fortunately for him, it is malfunctioned, so he's going to have to use a little bit more of a personal touch. So I'm assuming that we're not actually dealing damage to the boss's real health, but we are increasing the threat analysis meter. So I guess we should figure out what happens when the threat analysis is full. Punitive measures, huh?
Rehabilitation implemented.
Well, of course. Rockets. Not very nice. That's what I do when I feel threat. But we still haven't dealt any damage to its real health bar. So maybe, if we're careful, we use those rockets against it somehow. Oh, it's pretty close. Okay, there we go. So now we force it to be hit by its own rockets. We're able to target its armor piece, knock it off, and then give it a good solid punch right in its robot brain, which has dealt some real damage. So let's see if we can repeat this process. Now, one thing to note is that you know, this is one way to defeat the boss, but it's certainly not the only way to defeat the boss. And this easier method does not allow you to receive the most powerful loot. So if you want the best things off the bosses, then you know what, to fight them fair. Show honor. Not really. This is not really a game about honor. Threat analysis is almost full again. Let's see what happens.
Enforce maximum punitive measures. Dispensing sentence.
Okay, yeah. Down, let's see if we can get at its other armor piece. Okay, very nice. Boss defeated. Well done. So that's the Surge. Schedule.
Seriously, how long does it take to open a door? Just bypass the security protocol. Now what? Hey, heard that? Fuck, it's back! It's back, Ryan! Move it! The cutter! Run!
Changing the world is easy. Governments, corporations, they've always done it. Until this is all that's left. Slowly roasting under the solar rays. Forged from imperfection, steeled by technology. We're the cogs in their machine. And yet we struggle on. We are human, so we fight. But are we fighting for our future or theirs?